Hello and welcome to Michael Pepper Tech, where I don't only talk tech, I live it. Today I'm here to talk to you about the Samsung Galaxy Book Pro 360. And this is a talking head style video, which means, none of that fancy B-roll and none of that rolling slides or showing footage of speed tests and things like that. This is just all about my first impressions and experience with this device over the last week. So, couple things. The S Pen, well, it's really nice. I wish that there was a silo or like a channel to slide it in so that it was easier to carry around, because their method is to stick it on the thing here, and as you can see, it just falls right off. Dropped it right down on the floor. I'll have to get that. And that's a bit of an issue. So, I wish that there was a spot for it, or they had put a couple magnets on it, maybe made it a little bit stronger. That would have been very nice. Next thing would be the display, and I'm going to get into some pros and cons with the display. Pros, it's a very, very, very nice OLED with brilliant, accurate colors, and for watching content, it is really nice. And at 1080p, I don't see it as a problem. Now, if you do a lot of reading and are looking at a lot of text and are trying to edit high resolution videos and photos, the display will look pixelated. But that gets into another aspect here real quick. And sorry if I kind of go off into a tangent on different aspects here, but this is me, I don't script anything. So on that note, editing 4K video has been doable, but I wouldn't say it's been a great experience. I couldn't use DaVinci Resolve, I couldn't use Adobe. I had to use Filmora to get it to work at all, and then it took 25 minutes to export an 8-minute video. No compression, just a video shot from my phone in normal mode, no, not a compressed file or anything like that. Not a lot of fancy effects or transitions or titles, really. It's just a simple overlay stuff. And my phone can edit faster than that. So that's been kind of disappointing. Now, their built-in editor, I did test it. And to do 1080p short clips, it's pretty quick. I'm going to be doing further testing on that and see how it handles 4K. Because, yes, I know that 4K isn't a huge deal, but as more and more people are getting a hold of 4K monitors and 4K TVs and watching higher than 1080p, at least 1440p or 4K on their computers, on their TVs, on their phones even, I think it's necessary. And then to be able to do things like zooming in and punching in on the object mid-video without having to sacrifice some of the quality, 4K is really nice. I'm shooting this in 4K 30 on the front camera of the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra at this moment. And so I would say for content consumption, it's great. If you're looking at higher resolution stuff, look for a different device. Also, if you're going to be outside much, it doesn't get very bright at all. They say 300 nits. I know a couple of people have done some tests, and they're getting around 260 to 270 nits. And so if you're outside and you're in the shade, it might be okay. You're riding in the car, I can already tell you, I've tried to use it in the car, and it's barely visible. And that's a problem for me, as I bought this to be able to work on thumbnails and edit video clips on the go, and just kind of have a solution where I can use it, as a laptop. But then if I want to edit thumbnails, I can just flip it around and use the pen to edit on it. And with the display not being super bright, you have to be in a somewhat dark environment. The other thing is it's really reflective display, and so that's a problem for me as trying to record footage of it, having lights on and trying to not have glare and have it at a good angle so the camera sees the display right, and so the colors are representational of how I see it. And I've yet to find a good matte screen protector to put on it, and then that causes issues because you have to make sure it doesn't interfere with the S Pen. You have to make sure that it doesn't degrade the P3 color gamut that this has. But going on from display, battery life. Well, I don't really measure the hours of battery life, but I can say on a typical day during the week, I will get up anywhere from 6 to 8 o'clock in the morning, depending on when my son wakes up. And I will be up till 10, 11, sometimes midnight, sometimes later with this. And I'm not using it constantly, but I would say I get at least a good 10 to 12 hours, would be a rough estimate. The 65-watt charger charges this pretty fast. The lowest I've had was about 50% at the end of my day, and I'm probably using it, I would say, like I said, I'm probably using it maybe half of the time of those 12 hours constantly. And so I can get through a day, sometimes even 2 days. And so that's enough for me. As long as I can end my day and be able to know I can slap it on a charger, that's a bonus. And on that note, the port selection, having 2 chargers on the left-hand side and 2 USB-C ports on the left-hand side, and another one over on the right-hand side, means I can plug it in from either direction, which is a huge benefit because if I'm sitting in my chair, the charger, depending on which chair I'm sitting in, it might be on one side or the other. When I'm lying in bed, my charger is on my right side, but sometimes I use a charger that my wife has for the iPad from the left side. And so also plugging into my monitor cable here comes in from the left side of my monitor. So it's nice to have those on either side. You can use any of them for charging, any of them for display. Only one of them is Thunderbolt, so if you're using a Thunderbolt storage solution or something that needs that fast speed for transferring, connecting up to high-speed Ethernet or something that needs Thunderbolt, you'll need to use that. Micro SD card slot is really nice to have. Now, I haven't used it because I just use a full size SD card in my camera when I'm taking photos, and I'll transfer those directly. Or I use things like Quick Share, which is how I'll get this video footage over. Or, just plugging in direct with a cable. You have something like this, a USB-C cable. And then my audio interface uses USB-C to USB-C, so I plug that in on the left side, plug my monitor in on the right side, or the other way around, and my headphones, and I'm good to go. And it's been powerful enough to do some live streaming. Joined a couple live streams from it. The webcam, if you haven't seen that video, I will link it down below. Check that video out. It's not very good webcam. The microphones are decent, I will say that. So if you're going to use the built-in microphones and you maybe have a controlled light environment, it's good. But if you have, natural backlighting, you're in your kitchen, you're in your living room, you're using window lighting, you have light coming from behind you, it's going to blow that out. Might even blow your face out with highlights. And so display, battery life, webcam. Next is keyboard. So this, I would say, is my second favorite keyboard. MacBook is my top favorite keyboard as far as travel, as far as how clicky it feels. It doesn't feel very spongy. This feels a little bit more spongy. Then I have my techie keyboard that I use when I have this connected up to my monitor or other devices connected up to the monitor. And then behind, in third place, I would say, would be the Razer Blade 15-inch 2020 base model, because that's way more clicky, and it just feels like the travel's a little more shallow on this. I know this has 1 millimeter travel on it if you care about the numbers, but it's been a great taping experience. I haven't had to adjust from other devices, and it's been comfortable to type on. This one does not have the 10 key pad. The 15-inch model has the 10 keypad, so if you're doing a lot of typing, like that keypad in mind, or you can get an external one to plug in, and you'll have to use an adapter. That's the only downside to only having USB-C or Thunderbolt ports. But the advantage is they can act as anything with a dongle, and it doesn't matter which side you need it on, you just plug it in. So next on the list, I would say, would be performance. So I got into that a little bit with exporting footage, and if you're just shooting 1080p 30 or 1080p 60 footage and you're doing some simple edits, the built-in editing suite, the built-in video editor, is pretty decent. And let me know in the comments down below if you want to see me do some comparisons, comparing the built-in Samsung video editing software to something like Filmora that works, and kind of show benefits of each, and export times and some things like that. Maybe temperatures and thermals, or if you just want me to talk about it like I'm talking about it right now. So if you're doing basic editing, it's good. Basic photo editing, you'll be okay. But right now, I think it's because it's a fairly new processor that the software isn't really optimized for it. You're talking about built-in Intel Xe graphics, doesn't have a dedicated GPU. Now, if you can get a hold of a dedicated graphics card and an enclosure, you can use an external GPU with something like this because of that Thunderbolt port. So, if you want to be able to do some rough edits, some minor things on the go, or use it for entertainment and stuff like that on the go, but then when you want to do your exports and you want to do high quality playback and things like that, you're going to dock it, then I would say that would be a great experience. Now let's get into kind of an overall roundup after this. Would I suggest you to buy this? I would say for most people to get the base model, because the price point, I don't see an advantage of going to the i7, and as far as I've seen with comparisons of the i7 versus the i5, the i7's maybe 10 to 12% faster at most. And the only time you would really use the RAM would be if you're doing a lot of video editing. When I've been doing multitasking, it stays pretty low. Now, if you're opening a bunch of tabs in Chrome, then maybe bump up the RAM, but when you do that, you have to buy the i7, you have to buy the spec'd out model, and that adds to the price $400. And so for me, I'm keeping it because I'm trading in my Tab S7 Plus, and I will go over why in another video. And I am getting $550 for that, which is not what I paid for it, because I got a discount and traded in to begin with. Plus, I was a student, and I still have access to my student email, so I get a student discount on this. And so I did not pay that. I paid about half. And so for me, it's worth it. And I use, mostly inside. And for the average person, I would say if you like Samsung's ecosystem, if you have a Samsung phone or any Android phone that can take advantage of quick share, and you like having a device that's going to get you decent battery life, you do a lot of content consumption, you're typing in Word, and you're doing Excel spreadsheets, and you're doing things like that, typing in email, and you want something that's fairly light. You can throw it in your bag and, it's not going to weigh you down. It can flip around. You can handwrite on it. And I'll have some suggestions as far as handwrite improvement coming in another video as well. So that's kind of my overall opinion on this device after using it for the first week. If you have any other things you'd like me to cover, any questions, put those in the comments down below. And as always, I hate to ask, but please like and subscribe if you haven't already, as I know that about 80% of you are not subscribed. And again, my name is Michael Pepper of Michael Pepper Tech. I don't only talk tech, I live it, and I'll see y'all on the next one.